When your money's making money, you can spend your money and keep it too.
I'm JC. Welcome to my channel. We just had something delivered to spend your money and keep it too today. And for those of you who enjoy surprises, stay tuned till the end of this video. We are continuing the conversation from Battery Day. Kara Swisher just interviewed Elon Musk. Let's get started. But first, make sure you like, sub, and subscribe. It really helps my channel to grow.
It's not easy, said Musk, which is why he was really agitated at the press and investors who dinged him for not showing off an actual battery at the event. He claims he's been testing prototypes already, but that the critics don't have the slightest idea how far Tesla and others have come.
This is something that smart people on Wall Street have usually not the faintest clue about manufacturing and how difficult it is. I think that once you have come up with a prototype, well, that's the hard part, and everything else is trivial copying after that. It is not. That is perhaps 1% of the problem. Large-scale manufacturing, especially of a new technology, is somewhere between 1,000% and 10,000% harder than the prototype.
Elon has been talking about how difficult it is to mass produce a vehicle for some time now. In many ways, the real innovation at Tesla is not the vehicles, it's the factory, the machine that builds the machine. Just as a refresher, let's revisit some of the factory innovations Elon talked about on Battery Day.
And then the other thing is, how fast are things going through the factory? It's like speed and density. A factory that's moving at, say, twice the speed of another factory is equivalent to two factories, basically. This is what we're trying to do here, is say, okay, how do we, with one factory, achieve what maybe 5 or even 10 factories would normally be required to achieve? Basically, Tesla is aiming to be the best at manufacturing of any company on Earth. There's an architecture that we've been wanting to do at Tesla for a long time, and we finally figured it out. And I think it's the way that all electric cars in the future will ultimately be made. It starts with having a single-piece casting for the front body and the rear body. In order to do this, we commissioned the largest casting machine that has ever been made, and it's currently working just over the road at our Fremont plant. Currently making the entire rear section of the car as a single piece, high pressure die cast aluminum. This is a big deal for casting. So in order to achieve this, there was no alloy that existed that could do this. So we developed our own alloy that has high strength without heat treat and is very castable. In fact, in general, we've got a lot of advanced materials coming for Tesla, that new alloys and materials that have never existed before. The battery for the first time will have dual use. The battery will both have the use as an energy device and as structure. It also allows us to pack the cells more densely because we do not have intermediate structure in the battery pack. We now have a lot more space in the battery because the pack itself is structural. We have a filler that is a structural adhesive as well as flame retardant. It effectively glues the cells to the top and bottom sheet. We can actually use the steel shell case of the battery to transfer shear from the upper and lower face sheet, which makes for an incredibly stiff structure, even stiffer than a regular car. It also improves what's called the polar moment of inertia, like ice skater, arms out or arms in. Arms in, you rotate faster. So if you can bring things closer to the center, you reduce the polar moment of inertia, and that means the car maneuvers better. It just feels more agile. So 10% mass reduction in the body of the car, 14% range increase, 370 fewer parts. Long term, in any cars that do not take this architecture will not be competitive.
Did you just understand what you just saw? You have Tesla pressing a whole car in like 2 stamps. Instead of making a car in like 100 pieces, they first stamp the front of the car, and then they stamp the back of the car, and then they attach it to the battery, which is now the frame of the car, and then voila, you have a Tesla. Woohoo! We have got to jump into the manufacturing zone for just a second, because the genius of Tesla is making the complex simple. I mean, they are stamping the front of a car, then stamping the back of the car, and then they're snapping the 2 pieces to the battery like a Lego. Everything is getting better. Their factories are going to be up to 10 times smaller than they are now, while at the same time, each factory will be producing 5 to 10 times more vehicles. And the batteries Tesla will be making are going to be better in every way. They're going to be cheaper to make, have longer range, and last longer. Who's going to compete with that? Is there a possible way to compete with that?
I would really regard at this point prototypes as a trivial joke. The press coverage of this event was sad.
Okay, tell me why.
Most of the press takeaway was
No battery.
a sad reflection of their understanding, really.
All right, so explain it for them then.
I mean, I'll try.
Okay.
But I'm also not trying to convince people that much. The results will speak for themselves. We have produced the cells we're talking about. We've produced many of them.
Mm-hmm.
We have had cars driving with those cells since May.
Okay.
My premise is never to try to convince people why they should invest in Tesla. Sell your stock.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care.
And he's said this many times before. He really is a person who wants his results to do the talking. And when he has to explain things over and over, it's understandably annoying to him.
What I want to understand is what are you trying to achieve here? You've had lots of achievements over the years in different things. Batteries is always something you and I have talked about.
Yeah, the world is transitioning to sustainability. The question is how long it will take to transition to sustainability. There's really two constraints here, affordability and volume. So there are 2 billion cars and trucks in the world. And basically the two biggest industries in the world are energy and transport. So in order to transform energy and transport, you have to make an ungodly, gargantuan amount of battery cells. This is the limiting factor. The longer we take to transition to sustainable energy, the greater the risk that we take.
So it actually might surprise many of you new shareholders to discover that what Elon just said was in fact the mission statement of the company. I mean, the goal of Tesla has never had anything to do with building lots of cars or dominating transportation. The mission statement of Tesla is to expedite the world's transition to sustainable energy. We also have to transition everything else, and it's just not cars and trucks. Eventually, every form of transportation that you can think of will have to transition to electric power, which, by the way, is why Tesla Energy is going to become as large or larger than the auto industry. Just thought I'd throw that in, because when I watch CNN and CNBC, it seems like all those experts completely forget about the fact that Tesla has an energy business in addition to their cars.
The thing that Tesla has been able to achieve is to get to volume manufacturing and have sustainable, positive free cash flow.
Mm-hmm.
But from a car company standpoint, this is the real achievement of Tesla. There have been hundreds of car company startups over the years, and yet the only companies that have not gone bankrupt are Ford and Tesla. Even GM and Chrysler went bankrupt in 2009. It is insanely difficult to reach volume production as a car company and not die.
At this point, Tesla is so far ahead in their manufacturing that I don't believe that there's any existing auto company that's going to catch up and pass them. Not for at least 10 years.
And how do you judge the efforts by the other car companies? All of them have been publicly talking about moving in this direction.
Yeah, no, this was part of what we were aiming to achieve, to get the other car companies to head in the direction of sustainable transport as quickly as possible. And so it's good to see that the other car companies are moving towards electrification. That's great.
So you said it's not the end of the world, but what is it? Obviously, you've seen all these sort of apocalyptic looking climate events.
I mean, you can really think of civilization as almost like a thermometer, like where you've got like the red ball and then it as the temperature rises, the liquid expands and it goes up. And if you think about like how civilization has really developed, and we put ourselves right on the edge of the water. If that water level rises even a little bit, you've got major problems. I think we need to think in terms that are not super binary. Like it's not like the future will definitely be good, the future will definitely be bad. The actions that we take change the probability that the future will be good. It's the sooner we transition to a sustainable energy future, the better for the world. And I think it would be hard to find a reasonable person who would disagree with that.
Well, lots of people do.
Well, okay, that are not in the oil and gas industry.
Right.
Yeah, I think there's like not a lot of people outside the oil and gas industry who would disagree with that, or who are otherwise supported by the oil and gas industry. And by the way, I mean, honestly, I feel a bit bad about hating on the oil and gas industry. If I can just honestly speak on their behalf for a second here.
All right.
I mean, for a lot of the people in the oil and gas industry, especially if they're on the older side, they kind of built their companies and did their work before it was clear that this was a serious issue. Mm-hmm. And now they feel probably kind of hard done by that, like people are making them out to be villains when they're for the longest time just working hard to support the economy and didn't really know that it was going to be all that bad.
Elon has a really big heart. I'm betting that this will be very surprising for many people to hear. He means this.
So you talking on behalf of the oil and gas industry is fascinating to me right now, because you've been pretty tough. You've been pretty tough on climate deniers and things like that.
Yeah, I should say that the thing that originally got me interested in electric cars way back in high school was actually not the environmental element to it, because I didn't really know about that at the time. But I was really into physics. I thought, well, we don't want to have civilization collapse if we run out of oil, and that's the only way of getting around, and we have to go back to horses, then we won't be able to maintain civilization. We could have mass starvation. Civilization would collapse. Mm-hmm. So we've got to have electric cars. So I thought about a lot about electric cars and how do we solve the energy density problem. And that was what I was going to be studying at grad school in Stanford, actually, was, ultracapacitors for use as an energy storage mechanism in electric cars. And then I got kind of distracted by the internet and then got back to cars. The thing that does kind of drive me crazy is that we know that we have to transition to a sustainable transport in the long term, no matter what, because we'll run out of oil. So what the heck's the point of digging all the oil out of the ground, burning it, and then having to transition anyway? But in the meantime, you've run this crazy climate experiment, which could turn out to be extremely bad. And the evidence at this point is overwhelming that it will be bad.
So I think this was a great interview. I think Kara Swisher did a great job interviewing Elon Musk, and you should all check it out. The link will be down there in the bottom. They go on to talk about many things, and it's a very good interview. Please check it out. Usually at the end of a video like this, my final thoughts relate to whether you should be buying or selling a stock. And it's buy, by the way. But this time I'm left reflecting on Elon Musk and the mission of Tesla. Here, quite literally, we have an individual who is changing the world almost by himself. And it's up to us who believe in his mission to support him. I find it extremely difficult to comprehend how a single individual can manage and run 4 or 5 different companies at the same time. So at the end of the day, when it's all over and that fat lady is singing, whether or not Elon Musk is successful at any of his ventures, I would just like to thank him for the effort. Thank you for trying to make us have a better world for our children to grow up in, with better air to breathe. And thank you for attempting to colonize Mars so that our species will live on long after the sun expands and engulfs the earth in a fiery ball of flame. Welcome to the end of the video. And as I said, we had a surprise. We went online, we ordered a Tesla. Today, you know what happened?
What happened?
Well, it arrived. We're going to have an unboxing. So here we go. This is Spend Your Money and Keep It To's first Tesla.
This must be the smaller version, 25,000.
No, this was actually cheaper than that. Quite a bit cheaper, actually. It was an incredible deal. Now look at this. I think I can... Don't try this at home, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. Aha! Yes!
A Hot Wheels.
Is this right?
Yes, is that a Model 3?
It is a Model 3. So we are going to add the Model 3 to the Starman, which we already have.
So instead of 25,000, it was like 250.
Yes, $2.50. $2.50 on eBay. Remember, the most important thing is for you to smash that like button and like and subscribe to my channel. Because if you've reached this point and you watch the whole video just to see this little car, you really should already be a subscriber. But if for some reason you haven't, now's your time to do it. You gotta just click that button till that big thumb turns blue.
Hey, can like the 100th subscriber win a Tesla for $2.50?
The 100th subscriber. What are we up to? Today we're up to 44. Okay, the 100th subscriber
Wins a Tesla.
Woohoo! Unknown variety.
Yeah,
Who knows
yeah.
what it could be? It could be a Model 3. It could be a S or a Cybertruck?
Cybertrucks are going for $500 on eBay.
We don't even know. We have no clue.
Hot Wheel version.
Please do not buy or sell any stock just because some guy like me on YouTube tells you to do so. Do your own research and your own due diligence. Listen to many sources and make up your own mind. And remember, when your money is making money, you can spend your money and keep it too.